it. Somebody told me that it is a gift of the guilt that is given to the woman from the day that she is born. So let's be a little selfish and take care of ourselves first. In the list of preparation, the first thing I say is prepare your own mind that you're going to restart. Prepare your family, prepare a support system. So you have to be very resilient and you have to have a growth mindset. I believe happiness and success comes both in individuals as well as the rest of the people around them.
Welcome to the Stars of Learning podcast, where your host Jyoti Ji explores the minds of the thought leaders who have vast experience and in-depth knowledge in the learning industry. Now, over to your host Jyoti Ji.
Hello everyone, hearty welcome to season 2 of Stars of Learning podcast, and my name is Jyoti Ji. And I'm your host for the show, and each fortnight I interview the thought leaders in the learning industry who will share their best practices of learning. We will also discuss challenges, solutions, latest trends, tools, technology, leadership, and their journey in the learning field. So, friends, International Women's Day is a day for us to join in to celebrate the movement together with millions of women from across the globe. So, in their quest to achieve an equal future in the new challenged world. And the theme for this year is Choose to Challenge. And the theme celebrates the tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Definitely, as a woman and a mother of two, we can all choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality by joining this drive, Choose to Challenge. In this podcast, I want to bring diverse women leaders to get their best insights on their journey, which will empower women to step up in their life. And I was talking to one of my guests in my podcast, Shailaja Manacha, who is author of the book Step Up, and she referred me to that it would be fantastic to feature Neeraja Ganesh, who is not just a senior leader but a leader who is very invested in young women and their development and expansion. So, friends, needless to say that her presence and interaction is an exciting opportunity to interact with her directly and use this platform to share her thoughts, experience, challenges, and ideas. With that note, let me introduce you to Neeraja Ganesh, who is a professional with 25 years of experience in the IT industry, managing large teams, delivery of IT projects, operational excellence, and customer delight has been her strong forte. And she has a very strong inclination to get the women of our country with a positive mindset, become confident, and go all out to reach their potential. With this intent, she has driven diversity and inclusion programs across her inside and outside the organization to support the cause. She has a honor under Women Professionals category, receiving her Rising Award. So, friends, she believes that much need to be done to show the path to the women in our country who have the innate talent but lack the knowledge to where to find this help in terms of mentoring, coaching, networking, and more importantly, to understand that these are important elements in one's professional growth. Without any further delay, let me welcome my guest, Neeraja Ganesh. Neeraja, once again, a warm welcome to Stars of Learning podcast.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, for having me here. And I will definitely thank Sai for having recommended and referred me to be on this podcast. I did go through some of your earlier sessions and they were wonderful. So looking forward to this conversation, Jyoti.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy and excited that you're joining me today. So, to begin, Neeraja, our topic for today NEERSPIRES wisdom of Neeraja, taking capability into action. So, looking at your background from engineering to coach and now into relationship building, actually, when it comes to happiness and success in life, right? Most of the times, women compromise and always look for others' betterment. And what she forgets in the process is to enable herself. So, what's your thought as you're writing a blog and would be writing the book soon for the women? And we will be discussing about you being a mentor for so many years. Would like to hear your views.
Sure, Jyoti. So the human species is such that, of course, we want to live and we want to let live. We want everyone to be happy. And as
True.
women, especially the Indian women, we've been taught to ensure that everyone around us is happy. Not saying that
Yes.
men are not taught this, but the pressure on the woman is, more in this space. And it's kind of a given that a woman will, take care of everyone around, and we will try and find out what are the needs of others, and will ensure that that is taken care of. And hence,
Right.
everyone also gives her the guilt, while she herself has the guilt in her, if she has not done something which she feels is not as per the norms uh, that the society has conditioned her towards. The rest of the society will also give her the gift. Like somebody told me that it is a gift of the guilt that is given to the woman from the day that she is born.
Ah,
I always say that one needs to be selfish. And when I say that, what I mean is that if we need to take care of others, then we need to be in good physical, mental, emotional, financial, and what have you, right? All the health aspects. We need to be taking care of all of that for ourselves so that we can care for others. So let's be a
right.
little selfish and take care of ourselves first. It is exactly like the oxygen mask which is available, in the flights. uh, People say
Right.
that you need to, first take the oxygen mask whenever there is an emergency. Take care of yourselves and then you help the others. It's exactly like that. So for me, I
True.
believe that you have to differentiate between people's needs and wants. You have to, of course, ensure that the needs are taken care of your family and friends, but the
Mm.
wants wait till you have taken care of yourselves. So, like in my case, I know the responsibilities that I have towards everyone in the family, but I also call out what others' responsibilities are towards each other and towards me. I will not shy away from that. It is not a one-way street. So I do call.
Yes.
And the other thing is that I don't crave for others' approval or appreciation, because this is another reason why women, kind of think that, they must keep doing things for others, because only then they will be approved, they will be appreciated. They want to be called the best mother, the best daughter in law, and whatever. I have no such cravings. I have no such, needs to be, put up on a pedestal. I will do
Mm.
what I believe is required. I'm not saying, I'm not denying that, but
Yeah.
beyond what is required, if my time and my health permits, then I may do so. Otherwise, I will use that time on myself and do the things that I wish for. So that's the way I believe happiness and success comes both in individuals as well as the rest of the people around them.
Oh, wow, fantastic. And I can relate to your passion on people and wonderful you have put across, Neeraja. I think this has become a base, right? Knocking off the guilt, being self driven, and most importantly, let go of approval and appreciation. So, moving on, Neeraja, you very well laid out the conversation. I think, Neeraja, in the glamour world where lifestyle has taken a precede over life, so what is your views to this generation or young women in the world?
Again, I think the reason why lifestyle is probably taken over the basic essence of life is because everyone wants to do what the rest of the world is doing. Everyone wants to fit in with the rest of the world. But my question to everyone is, do they really want what they want? I don't even know whether people are sitting down and reflecting. And as a coach, and if you were to go to a coach, that is what a coach enables. Enables you to reflect retrospectively. What is it that you want? And because most of the times we have not taken the time to do that reflection ourselves, we just do what the rest of the world is doing, following what the rest of the world is doing, because we want to fit into that. But I think 2020 should have been a huge eye opener to many people in this respect, right? So let me give an example.
True.
I will ask this
Yes.
question to people: who does or do people go to a
Mm-hmm.
movie because they want to watch the movie,
Mm-hmm.
or is it because they want to brag to their friends that, hey, I have a great social life, I go to the movies, the malls, the restaurants, shopping, etc.? Are you wanting to brag?
Mm-hmm.
Are you wanting to fit in because the rest of your friends are doing it? Or are you watching that
Mm-hmm.
movie or doing whatever you're doing because you want to? You felt that the movie is a good, story, or that is your way of giving yourself some me time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
4 years ago, when we actually were building a house, we
Mm-hmm.
kind of course, put in whatever was the latest and best based on our budget. And I still remember that we had 3 bedrooms in that house, and hence we had 3 bathrooms in that house, and we
Mm-hmm.
put in the best of the fittings that were there available at that point in time. But I actually
Mm-hmm.
builder, and I got a fourth bathroom also, constructed a smaller one, because I felt we lived in a joint family, so that my in-laws were there, and me and my husband, and we didn't have a child yet, but I knew a third who will be required once the child comes in, or for a guest.
Mm-hmm.
But I put
Mm-hmm.
a fourth bathroom because I thought at some point in time we may have a live-in maid, or even the everyday help that comes. Maybe she wants to use the bathroom at some point in time, so let there be a fourth one, a smaller one, but we kind of
Yeah.
do. And then
Yeah.
we asked people for the Graha Pravesham. Of course, they liked our house, they liked the bathrooms, but the comment that they passed was, "You should have put a bathtub in one of the bathrooms. You've done so much." And my
Mm-hmm.
reason for not having put in a bathtub was that, see, neither I nor my husband use a bathtub. We are not used to that kind of lifestyle, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in-laws don't use that. And the guests who come home, even if they're used to it, I'm sure they can, live without that privilege for a few days that they stay with us. And if they,
True.
are born into a household which doesn't have all these frivolous, gadgets and all of them, they will also not get used to it. But a
Mm-hmm.
bath only costed 5,000 rupees then. However, this
Uh,
fourth room that I constructed must have costed us 25, 30,000 rupees. So I was
mm-hmm.
okay to spend the 30,000 rupees on the fourth bathroom because I felt there is a need for that. Versus
Right.
not still spend the 5,000 rupees, even if it is, lesser, because it's just to keep up with the lifestyle and to show off to the others. That's what I meant to say that think about you want to comply to a lifestyle that the rest of the world wants, you to be with. And again, it's the rest of the world's take. It's not your take on it.
Yeah, yeah. Point very well taken, Neeraja, to reflect and retrospect on the relevance and make it inclusive to the lifestyle. And are you content in what you're doing? Very powerful. Continuing with this thought, Neeraja, I have followed you on LinkedIn and I saw one of your article on uh, a T-shaped person, and it was an eye opener for me to understand the depth of the pattern. And I was thinking to put that in my learning plan too. Uh, so in the process, the next generation workforce, I also felt that it is required to be in a T-shaped. So, can you share some insights to my viewers to build that kind of a capability? Because capability is the learning mantra, and when I see most of the learning report, capability is at the top trending for many organizations now.
Absolutely, Jyoti. And I think, the fact that you're doing this kind of a podcast series and talking to so many people and bringing in those nuggets of learning to yourselves and to the rest of the world is a good example of becoming a T-shaped individual, right? So let me explain what a T-shaped person or a T-shaped employee is. So if you look at the
Mm-hmm.
alphabet T, there is a horizontal and there is a vertical in the T. So
Right.
most of us, of course, have the vertical of the T very well defined for ourselves because we all have pursued a particular course. We have pursued a particular career. For example, I was a technology person for the first 25 years of my career, and hence I would have been very deeply technical. I would have continued to learn the emerging technologies, and the vertical of the T would have gone really deep. But in
Mm-hmm.
environment, it is not good enough just to have the vertical, depth. You also need to
Right.
ensure that you have certain skill sets and capabilities which will sit well on the horizontal. And what are those? Those are some of the competencies like collaboration, teamwork, negotiations, whatever you can, bring into the horizontal. You need to package that and learn as many of those competencies as possible.
Okay.
The other thing that add on to the horizontal is that you might be a technology person, but I think you should also learn something in different domains, understand how
Hmm.
different businesses are running.
Hmm.
So it is important for us to have the breadth of that horizontal in the T as wide as possible,
Hmm.
because with that, one, you will be able to differentiate yourselves from the rest.
Yeah.
If you look at our country today, there is enough and more supply of talent,
Right.
but there isn't that much of demand.
Yeah.
So we always have 100 CVs, 10,000 CVs available for one position in a company. How does
mm,
the recruiter and the hiring manager differentiate between one person and the other person? Because you would have done
mm,
course, maybe from a different college, maybe a little bit of a difference in the percentage that you have scored, but at the end of the day, it is a
Hmm.
degree. So take that differentiation. It is that horizontal of the T. What are the other kinds of projects that you have done? Have you done a lot of volunteering? Have you gone and driven some initiatives? Are you part of different networks? And a lot more, which will differentiate you from others, and hence you would be probably called to
Hmm.
an interview, or you would be probably given that job. And hence, very very important that we all build ourselves into T shape.
Yeah, yeah, interesting one. And I remember my mentor saying, Neeraja, it's important to also to have a parallel track. And I'm able to connect how this T-shaped capability is helping my career, my progression, and building my own brand. And this is definitely going to be a differentiator if we go to plug this our capability. And Neeraja, being in the industry and working for so many years now with women employees, I also notice, women at times miss out on great opportunities, or they don't create that opportunities to get better. I know it's risky and challenging sometimes to get exposed that way. So, what's your piece of advice as the mindset of these people think? When I interact with many career oriented women, that not all of us are lucky ones. We are not born with a silver spoon. All those thought process. However, they do not realize that the struggle and effort on the other side is equally there. And believe me that it's a human notion, right? The grass is always greener on the other side. How do we treat this every interaction as an opportunity?
Thanks for bringing this question in, Jyoti, because this is something that I always, talk about. Treat every interaction as an opportunity. Just like both of us are talking on this podcast today, it's an opportunity
Right.
for me as well as it's an opportunity for you. So the way we kind of exchange
true.
our thoughts and the way we conduct ourselves will, go a
Hmm.
long way in ensuring that we remain connected tomorrow. And maybe there
Hmm.
is some opportunity that will come out of it. One doesn't know. So the
Hmm.
first and foremost is that people have to ensure that wherever they are, whatever they do, even if it's a WhatsApp conversation with somebody,
Hmm.
you are part of so many groups. Some, of
Hmm.
course, are family and friends, but you might be part of another group for learning purposes or networking purposes.
Right.
Every WhatsApp conversation on that group can also turn out into an opportunity.
True.
Okay, for example, I will mention this. So I am part of one of the networks where somebody put out a post in the morning saying that social capital is the biggest capital,
Hmm.
and I responded to that by saying that of course I definitely agree to that, and I said I do a lot of sessions on networking, and the first slide that I put out when I
Hmm.
presented the topic is about social capital.
Okay.
Immediately, I was asked by that particular community to do a session on networking. So,
Wow.
did that opportunity come my way? If I just kept my mouth shut or not, responded to it in that manner, that opportunity wouldn't have come.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
just shared a story, and it's a beautiful story. So I told you I'm a mentor. on a variety of portals. One is called Jobs for Her. The second is called Aspire for Her. So on the
Right.
Jobs for Her portal, I'm a mentor, right? And a
Hmm.
lot of people follow me. So that's the way that portal is built. That
Hmm.
there are so many mentors, and people can come and follow the mentors of their choice. What
Hmm.
happens because
Hmm.
of that is the minute the mentor is conducting some events, they will be notified about it. Or the mentor herself can reach out to the mentees and have a conversation.
Hmm. Hmm.
So once in a while, I will go through who are following me
Hmm.
and see if I can have a conversation with them to see what is it that they are after.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, on that, every mentee has to put in a
Hmm.
details. Otherwise, how will a mentor know who
Hmm.
this person
Hmm.
is or what she's after, right? So they've
Right.
asked every mentee to, of course, put her name, but some kind of bio data, some kind of years of experience. What have you done? What are you looking to do? And these are not mandatory fields, but they've kind of created these kinds of fields so that people can put in some stuff about themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I go through the list of mentees who are following me, I first,
Mm.
because there are so many, I think I've got about 5,000 mentees following me. It's not possible
Okay.
to speak to everyone.
Right. Right.
So then I narrow it down. And what is the criteria that I'm using to narrow down? I'm saying if someone has taken the trouble to actually
Hmm.
populate all the fields, which means
Hmm.
that lady is telling me everything about herself in terms of her professional career in the past. Is she on a career break now? Is she looking to change her job? What are some of those things? She has
Hmm.
taken the effort to write these things into the portal. So I must take the effort to speak to this person,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that way, I identified one person, and I identified quite a few, but I am talking about this one girl. Her name is Asha, and I reached out to her, and she said she's on a career break and she's looking to restart at some point in time. And I said, okay, let me invite
Hmm.
you to one of the events that was happening. So Jobs for Her does quite a few events through the year. So
Hmm.
there was this event called as Restart Her happening, and I gave her a pass.
Hmm.
Good, Asha, I'm
Hmm.
giving you a free pass. Why don't you come over? You attend the entire session, and we'll meet also and speak. And Asha came
Hmm. Hmm.
to attend the event. She stayed on. She attended the whole event, and like her, I'd given passes to a few more people. I'd invited a few more people. But what did Asha do
Hmm.
differently? After attending the entire event, she hung around to meet with me.
Okay.
And I was very busy on that day, so I spent a few minutes with Asha, and then she said, I'm looking to restart. Is there any opportunity with Jobs for Her, even as a volunteer or something like that?
Hmm.
And I said, why don't you come and meet me in the office?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people ask me about this. Are there any opportunities? And I'm talking, of course, pre 2020.
Hmm.
I would tell people, okay, let's sit down and talk, because you can't just hook up an opportunity, right? You have to understand the
Hmm.
and see where you could probably
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
person.
Right. Right.
So I told her, why don't you come to meet me? The difference was that she came to meet me. So she had a 2-year-old son,
Hmm.
and there was no one to kind of look after the son, but I think she must have asked her husband to look after this boy. And
Hmm.
she traveled all the way from Whitefield to, the Jobsford office, which is in Coxtown. And she came, spent a few hours with me, and I told her that there is an opportunity, but it is completely voluntary.
Hmm.
I will not be able to pay you. But the thing is, you can work from home,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And I'm not going to be very stringent about you have to work these hours. I will give you
Hmm.
some of work, and during the day, whenever you get the time, you finish it and give back to me.
Okay.
So, cutting a long story short, she had told me I can only work 2 hours every day when my son goes to sleep, and that is after 2 in the afternoon. And I had said okay for it. But she herself found time, sometime in the morning, sometime afternoon, sometime in the night, and started doing more than the 2 hours of work.
Hmm.
And I saw that she was so good with her work. I
Hmm.
started giving her more, was learning more, and
Hmm.
eventually, became a paid employee. In fact, she was
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
good as what I was doing at the foundation, the Jobs for Foundation, the work that I was doing. So when I took 1 month
Hmm.
of a break, she was the person who stepped in for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So create this opportunity for me, for herself, sorry.
Right. Right.
One is that she had put all the elements in that portal.
Yes.
There were so many other women, but I chose Asha because she had taken the effort to populate everything.
Hmm.
She took the effort to attend the event. She
Hmm.
took the effort to sit down and have a conversation with me.
Hmm.
She took the effort to come and meet me.
Hmm.
Right? So each of these interactions has turned out into be an opportunity completing, herself and giving her, more and more and more to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is one way that I say that treat
Yeah.
every interaction as an opportunity.
Hmm.
Don't ask the question, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
If she had thought, what's in it for me? This is a portal. Why should I even write on that?
Yeah.
Then she wouldn't even have got the opportunity.
Yeah.
But if you start looking at everything as an opportunity, you will ensure you do the very best. And you don't know where it will.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Definitely, that mindset shift is needed to knock that limiting belief and treat every interaction as an opportunity and grab it. So, Neeraja, Asha is the best example who has taken her aspiration into action. Like the story of Asha, women always go through this conflict between her career and family, and especially when she gets into the motherhood, like Asha with 2-year-old child, can who said that she can give only 2 hours of her time, and sometimes guilt and pressure of the society also makes her weak. So what has been your journey and your nuggets, because you're working with so many women in the world?
Yeah, so the guilt used to, kill me also. So I'm no different, right? So today, of course, my daughter is 19 years old, but she was also, 6 months old at a point in time.
Hmm.
She was 10 months old when I actually decided to go back to work.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I hate it, to kind of leave her at home and go to work. Despite the fact that I had my in-laws at home and my husband also used to work from home.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
didn't have to leave her, with any stranger. It was family that was, caring for her. Despite the fact,
Okay.
leaving her in the morning, I used to feel so, so very guilty.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there have been many stories of her growing up and the guilt actually killing me, but I will narrate this one.
Hmm.
So when she was, the kids, and I don't know, it probably happens today also. Whenever the schools will reopen, it will probably happen again.
Hmm.
The last day is special because you're finishing up that year, and then you have vacation, and then you go to the next year, next standard, right? So the last
Right. Right.
school, the class teacher tries to make it very special. So I think she was probably in the fourth standard, and the class teacher said, everyone brings some food item from home,
Hmm.
and we will have a party. The
Hmm.
last day of school is a party.
Hmm.
And everyone said, okay, fine, my mother will bake a cake. Somebody else said, my mother will, make the best of juices and things like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So my daughter, she volunteered on behalf of me and said, my mother will make pasta.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you, I'm not the best of cooks. In fact, I hate cooking.
Okay.
Okay. So throughout my, life, I've had help around in the kitchen, and I have cooked only during 2020 lockdown because we didn't have help at home. But
Virtual
yes,
high five, but I don't know to cook pasta though, for sure.
right. So she came back home and she said, "Ma, I have put your name as pasta for pasta." And she then told me, everyone else's mother is making so many good things. One is making a cake, one is making a juice, somebody else is making something else. So you have to, send pasta. Now,
Hmm.
it was so tough for me because, I start work very early. I used to start work very early. And it was pasta for 40 kids in the class. Of course, there's many other,
Yeah.
items that are coming. But still, when you know there are 40 kids, you have to make some sizable quantity, right?
Right.
And I'm not the best of cooks. So it was really stressful. But I said, if I don't send her anything, then she'll be the only child whose mother has not made something and sent, right? The guilt.
Yeah.
Every other, mother is sending something.
Right.
So I sat, I did some prep in the evening, then I got up early and I prepared the pasta and sent it with her. And I was waiting for her to come to
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
And the minute she came back, I said, okay, how was it? And, she said, of course, the party was great. So I said, tell me which, girl brought what, which boy brought what did the mother send? And she said, Ma, that mother who was supposed to bake the cake actually bought it from Nilgiris and sent it.
Hmm.
Then the other mother who was supposed to make some juices actually sent some, bottled juices that she picked up from the mall.
Okay.
Many of the mothers gave money to the children and said, go to the canteen and pick up something.
Hmm. Hmm.
So net, it appeared that probably I was the only mother who sat and cooked.
Hmm.
And why did I do that? Because of the guilt that, oh my God, I will not be a good mother.
Hmm.
And what will the rest of the kids think? What will Sneha think? And all of that.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, Jyoti, that's the first and the last time that guilt has, killed me when it comes to my daughter or when it comes to anything. I said, if I feel like doing it and if I can, then I will do it. Let the whole world do whatever they want to do. And that's a message that I do want to tell the women that, guilt will always be there. It will not go away. And people will give you more guilt. But you think for yourselves, what is it that you want to achieve? And in that, if you have to keep a few things aside, like I said, cooking is something that I don't do, but that doesn't mean my family doesn't get meals, right? I find a way to ensure that, there is someone who comes, who cooks and, delivers the food.
Right.
And, healthy, nutritious food. But I may not be the person who's doing it. And the rest of the world can do whatever they want to say about me, but it's okay.
Yeah. Right. So, Neeraja, since we are entering into the workspace, there are a lot of women, right, after marriage or after maternity, trying to re-entering the workforce after a career break would have built a huge wall for themselves to take the leap. Is there any tips that you want to share to these women who are in their career journey?
Yeah. So the first and foremost thing that I tell anyone who takes a career break, be it voluntary. When I say voluntary, it means that you wanted to take the break, you had always planned for it and you took it, or involuntary. You really didn't want to take the break, but the circumstances were such that you had no other option. So be it voluntary or involuntary, the first and foremost is do not regret having taken a break because it was your choice, right? Your choice because you felt it was needed at that point in time. And hence, never ever regret it. That's the first thing I want to say. Because if you continue to have that mindset, you're not going to enjoy the break also. So you will not enjoy the break, you will not enjoy the process of getting, back out into the workforce after the break. So please, happy with whatever decisions you have taken because it was the need of the hour.
Right.
So that's the first. And do not shy away from talking about it. Show it with confidence. Speak about having taken a break for whatever reason it was. Speak about it in your TV, speak about it in your elevator pitch, speak about it wherever. There's no possibility. Don't shy, don't hide it because that's not really going to do you good.
Right.
Now, in terms of the things that one must do to be able to restart, there are three big items, right? One is I always say prioritize. When I say prioritize these aspects. Prioritize where does your family come? Where does your career or your job come? Where does learning fit into your priorities, right? Which is very important. We all know that learning is so important, but does it even come in your list of priorities?
True.
Where does money fit into your list of priorities? Where does time fit? Where does your contribution to the stuff that you need to do at home? Where does the time that you want to spend on social media and so many other things? So first make a list of priorities because that is what is going to help you decide what kinds of jobs can you go after. Like if you feel that I really want to spend, I want to continue spending about 4 hours at home to cook and clean and to care for my family. Maybe you will not be able to take a full-time job immediately. Maybe. I'm just saying that.
Right.
Of course, today, because you're all working from home, there might be a higher possibility of doing it.
Yeah.
But when you were commuting, your commute might take away 4 hours every day. So you may want to just do a part-time job. So these prioritizations are very important. After you're prioritized, you know what kind of a job you want because of the other aspects in your priority list. Do some preparation. And of course, when we say preparation, people will say, okay, let's, prepare our CV, let's do some reskilling. But in the list of preparation, the first thing I say is prepare your own mind. Because you have a career break.
Right.
And now you're going to restart. It's not going to be the same. So the guilt will come. People will give you guilt. There will be 100 other things that will come, right? But you prepare your mind to say, no, I have done what was required for my family, for whoever, because of which I took the break. Now I'm ready to restart. So your mind has to be very clear that it will not, go in the path of guilt. Prepare your family, because they need to know that now you're going to start working. So even if you're working from home, they need to know that you are working for those few hours. So they should not disturb you.
Right.
And prepare a good system, because you cannot really be successful unless and until you have a good support system.
Right.
It could be your own family members, it could be, external help. And when I say support, maybe to look after the child, maybe to look after the kitchen, maybe to clean and dust and everything, whatever else you were doing when you were on a break. But you will not get time for that, because your now priority is the career. Ensure that you have an adequate support system for that.
Right.
And of course, because we are going to work from home for some more months, prepare the work environment. Ensure that you have a good laptop, you have a good internet connection. And I think because of 2020, I think all of us would have invested in all of this. But regardless, if you are always borrowing, a laptop from somebody in the family, ensure that you have one for yourself, so that you can dedicate it on that. You have a backup system, because if the power goes or the internet fluctuates, you have some other device available and things like that. And then prepare for the skills that are needed. Prepare for understand the latest industry trends. Ensure that your CV is updated. Build your networks. Continue to building your networks. Of course, work on your personal brand and all of that. But most important are the first three that I said. Prepare your own mind that you're going to restart. Prepare your family. Prepare a support system.
Right.
And the last thing that I will say is, though you want to restart your career, and of course you want to, get into a paid job, and a job that is equivalent to what you were doing before your career break, a salary which is equivalent to what you were drawing before your career break. But it is perfectly fine to, restart by volunteering.
Right.
Even if you're not going to, any money, it is perfectly fine, because anyways you're going to sit at home and not getting paid for that. Instead, if you're going to volunteer for a few hours in an organization, at least you're learning a few new things, seeing a few new people, and that will eventually, take you towards a paid opportunity. So be open to that. Be open to internships, and be open to even different kinds of, roles. So like I was doing a tech job for 25 years, but I went on to head a non-profit foundation for 18 months after that. After that, I went and worked at a college, right? And today, of course, I do many things. So look at very diverse opportunities, because if you're very stuck up with, I want only this kind of a job, we already spoke about the demand and supply in our country.
Right.
You will have only a limited, number of opportunities that will come your way. But if you're going to diversify and say that, okay, I can look at this, I can look at X, I can look at Z also, then suddenly, the bucket of opportunities expands.
Right.
And the last one is that today, the gig workforce is really, really becoming large. So for those of you who don't understand what is a gig, in the earlier, terminology, it was freelance, contract, consultant. What it means is that you're not permanently employed with an organization.
Right.
You do a lot of gigs. So maybe at one point in time itself, you can do multiple gigs. You can do 3 different kinds of projects in very different kinds of, work. So you could be doing content writing in one place. In a second place, you could probably be doing some kind of training. And a third place, you might be doing a tech project for all you know. So this is how it is evolving in today's world. Permanent employment is going to reduce, and the gig workforce is really going to, open up. So you should be open to get gigs also, which means that, yes, a little bit more work, because as and when every project is finishing, you have to start finding new projects.
Right.
But there are a lot of portals available today where, gigs are also posted. So it shouldn't be very difficult. So the reason I'm talking about this is, if you're going to have a very fixed mind to say, I will go and work only in this kind of a company and only in this kind of a job with only this kind of a salary, it becomes very hard to restart.
Right.
Be a little open.
Yeah. Again, a powerful one with loads of tips you have shared, Neeraja, like prioritizing, preparation, gadgets related skills to restart from volunteering and being aware of gig economy. So, Neeraja, in our earlier conversation, you were talking about that WhatsApp group and power of networking, right? And how you were placed yourself as a speaker for an event. So I also believe in power of networking, and I was also able to scale and get amazing guests like you on my podcast. And networkings are great enablers in every walk of life, as long as we have the right attitude, aptitude, and ambition to get there. So, what is critical is the digital reputation. So, what is your strategy in networking? As I see you fitting in heterogeneous industries and you have been a coaching for many members. So, what's your insights?
So, first of all, my definition of networking is that networking is not about what you get out of it. Networking is about what you give. And I always say give before you can take, right? And
Right.
people get the definition very wrong. They say, okay, fine, networking is about going and talking to someone and asking that person for something,
Hmm.
or even connecting with someone only because you feel that someone can give you something, right? But that is not what is networking.
Hmm. Right.
Networking is about
Hmm.
what is it that you can give to the other person? What is it that you can contribute to that community, to that network? How can you, what is the value that you provide? And first, you provide that value.
Hmm.
And eventually, of course, there will come opportunities where you can ask for something that you want, or others will themselves give something, to you.
Hmm.
So that's the first, it's the definition of networking.
Hmm. Hmm.
If to kind of understand this better. So
Hmm.
last year, now for this platform called Aspire for Her, right?
Hmm.
And 1 year old platform. So last March, actually on Women's Day last year, is when this was launched by a lady. Her name is Madhura Das Gupta Sinha.
Okay.
Now I didn't know Madhura before 8th March last year.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just that both of us are part of another network, and we were on that WhatsApp group. And I got introduced in that WhatsApp group with the kind of work that I have done in the past. It
Hmm.
was the work with jobs and my association with very work related in the gender space.
Okay.
So Madhura reached out to me and she said she would like to have a chat with me just to understand what I have done and more for her to learn from what I had done because she
Hmm.
was just starting to aspire for her journey.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we had a one, and of course, I was quite open in telling her whatever because it's a journey, right?
Right. Right.
When I started off on my journey, also there were so many assumptions that I had made,
Hmm.
and in that 1 years of my journey, I had learned a lot of things. I knew what could work. I knew what will not work. So I was very openly, sharing all of that with her, and she was glad that she got those small tidbits.
Hmm.
And towards the end, she asked me if I would become a mentor on her portal.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
said, fine. I got onto and, became a mentor. Now, what does becoming a mentor on the portal mean? And again, these are all, pro bono, all of this, a lot of work that we do is pro bono. So you're giving,
Hmm.
you're giving to others. Becoming a mentor on that portal means that there are a lot of girls. Aspire for is a platform for girls in the age group of 18 to 25.
Hmm.
And the idea is that we get these girls to think of very intentional careers.
Hmm.
We tell them that financial independence is a must,
Right.
right? So, how do these girls get to know about various career options?
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
what the platform enables. And then, if somebody says, okay, I want, like for example, if somebody wants to become a podcaster,
Hmm.
today, opportunities are plenty, right?
Right.
So, suppose somebody wants to, because they've been listening to podcasts and they want to become a podcaster. But how do you do it? You will need some mentoring. Some people can find it on their own, but it's always good if you have a mentor, right?
Right.
So maybe they are Jyoti and say, hey, can you, guide me on this journey? And of course,
Hmm.
I'm sure you'll share whatever learnings you've had.
Hmm.
So that's the of a mentor. So I'm a mentor on that portal, and
Hmm.
I, have opportunities to talk to these girls and give them some advice. But since I write a lot, that is how my column on Aspire for Her.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I've started a monthly column. I write, it's called NEERSPIRES. I write about some of the things which I believe these girls must know at this age, rather than grow up into careers and grow into their lives and then feel they missed out on something.
Yeah.
And that's how my book is also going to happen because I realized that these blogs are very powerful. So why don't I convert it into a book?
Hmm.
But what also came through is that as Aspire for Her is growing,
Hmm.
there are a lot of alliances that they are getting into. They are getting into a lot of partnerships with colleges, with corporates, and other organizations. And whenever there is an opportunity for someone to give a talk, either to the college students or at the corporates, AFH will reach out to me and other mentors to say, hey, can you come and give a talk? It is in many ways giving us back,
True.
right? It is kind of expanding our audience base. It is expanding our personal brand. And even the mentors, and these mentors are very, very seasoned senior women professionals.
Yeah.
So they have been listening to my talks when I give it on some platform through AFH. And they have reached out. They said, hey, can you give it elsewhere? In their networks. So one is leading to the other. But where did it start and how did it start? It started because I was happy to talk to Madhura. I was happy to give her whatever I knew in terms of my journey of, working in the gender space. I was happy to give mentorship. I was happy to write on her, a platform and look at the way the opportunities shape up. So this is networking. It is all about healing. And eventually, it's also about nurturing relationships. So you can't be very transactional, right? So today, you and I are thinking, it can't be that that's the end, right? I'm sure we'll remain connected. And over a period of time, there might be something I can help you with, you could help me with. And because of that, the relationship nurtures.
Right.
And ultimately, it also starts benefiting you in many ways.
Wonderful again, Neeraja. Many nuggets on networking strategy. So, Neeraja, moving on, I also see a lot of problem where the journey upwards for women, like I was reading one report. It said that 30% of the women are at entry level, and then the number dips at 10% at the managerial level, and only 1% at the leadership level, and it's not likely to change soon too. So I want to know from you on leadership lessons, what is important and what are one or two actionable insight you would want the women to take action, who are particularly at this leadership level or aspiring to get into the leadership level.
Yeah. So first of all, a leader is not a boss. When I say that, it doesn't mean that just because you have a position, don't start using it as a position of authority. That everybody will do what you ask them to do. Maybe they will do. I'm not saying no, but then people have to follow you for who you are and what you are able to deliver to the organization and to the people, right? So a leader has to be extremely trustworthy. She has to be transparent in all communications. And sometimes she can even be vulnerable. You don't have to be the know it all and the perfect person. Today, there is a term called as servant leadership, which means that, we are moving towards serving the organization. We are in that role to see how we can serve the organization, which means ultimately serving the employees. So it is okay to be vulnerable to say, yeah, I don't know this. Do you know something better? Or can you teach me something? Because today also in organizations, you have multi-generations.
True.
So you will have somebody who's 20 years old and you will have somebody who's 50 and even 60 years old in an organization and maybe in the same team. And each person brings in different kinds of skill sets. So you have to be open to learning from a 20-year-old. Correct?
Right.
So the other aspect is that a leader is not someone who's always giving the good news or praising news. You will also have to give the bad news. But as long as the news is given on time and with whatever amount of information that is allowed to be shared, I know sometimes there are confidential, decisions, so you cannot tell everything about everything. But whatever is allowed to be shared, and you go and share that information, even if it is bad news, it helps build trust, because that is the bottom line in terms of, people looking up to a leader. Can I trust? Are you someone who owns up the decision and not someone who says that, okay, somebody in senior management took this decision and I'm just narrating it to you. I'm just a messenger. No, even if somebody took that decision, You are the person responsible for implementing that for your team. And hence you have to own up to that decision. Only then the respect, the trust, and people following you will continue. So, quick example, one of my earlier organizations, I was going through, a tough time at home. And hence I had requested that I will not take on any roles which have a lot of travel outside of Bangalore. Because I was around in Bangalore for the family. And, I was in a very senior position, and these kinds of roles were not there. Mostly, most of the roles at that position needed travel. So I knew that my priority is, not to travel, and hence at some point in time, if such a role does not come my way, I will have to quit the organization. So I did that. I finally took the decision, and one fine day I was going to put down my papers. But even if you've thought through the decision, sometimes you do want to talk about it with people in the company.
Right.
And I was at a position where the company had assigned a coach to me. The previous year, there was a coach who used to work with me. There were a lot of senior leaders in the organization who knew about the work that I was doing because I was driving a lot of initiatives. And when I decided to put in my papers, I actually sent a note to some of these people, including my coach, to say that, because of this situation that I have at home and I cannot travel, and a role with no travel is coming my way, I am quitting. I would like to have a chat with you. It was just a conversation, right? I'm not going to say, keep me in the organization or find me a role or nothing like that. But you just want to have the conversation with somebody.
Right.
I was surprised that most of these leaders didn't even respond to my message, including the coach.
Okay.
There was another very senior leader with whom I had never worked, but he knew of my work because I used to drive some BNI initiatives in this organization, so he knew of my work. And I said, okay, let me message him also, but I could not. I actually had to speak to his EA because I don't know him directly. So I spoke to his EA and I said, can I get some time with him? And she said he is on leave, and we don't disturb him when he's on leave.
Okay.
So I think you should wait till he comes back. But then I was putting my papers on the same day, so I didn't have this luxury of the time. What I did, all the leaders, of course, have their phone numbers available on the directory. There is a internal directory in the company.
Right.
So I did find this person's number. So I just sent an SMS to him. And I said, there is something urgent that I wish to talk to you. I know that you're on leave, but if there's a possibility, I would like to have a chat with you. And this person called me back, despite the fact that he was on leave and I have never worked with him. He doesn't know anything about it, except for the fact that, I'm writing an initiative. And I told him that I was going to quit. And he said that I don't think I can help you in any way at this point in time. And I said, no, my call is not to ask for help, but my call is just to kind of have someone else listen to me, right? And this is a leader that I will always keep in high regard because he is open to having the conversation with me, even if he cannot help me with something.
Right.
These are the people, who kind of lead from the front. And I think this is a very important leadership lesson for everyone.
Yes, very, very, powerful example for us to voice out. And all these are important when you need to be vulnerable, trustworthy, transparent, to have that conversation. And you also spoke about servant leadership. And I've also done an episode on this topic, Neeraja. All my lovely listeners, hop on to episode 12 and 13 if you are inclined to know what is leadership, where I have spoken to an evangelist, Dr. Madan, and who shares his experience and implementation on completely on servant leadership. He says everyone, not only leadership team, should follow servant leadership. So, with that note, Neeraja, can you share what is Quinnergy Leadership Academy Private Limited is all about?
Sure. So this is an organization. So, in terms of the work that I do, I consult with a few organizations to help them, build their online presence, help them build their online brand and take their programs. Largely these are, in the learning space and some of their coaching to wider networks and corporates. And of course, I also do a lot of freelance work, as I said, and a lot of pro bono work. But Quinnergy is where I start.
Okay.
And it's like any other leadership academy, they have a lot of training programs. But the difference is that all their programs and frameworks are based on Indic wisdom. So Quinergy stands for quintessential inner energy, right?
Okay.
Quintessential inner energy. That's how Quinergy has been formed, that word. So what it means is that a lot of, even in our conversations, a lot of what we want to do and the transformations that we want to bring about is based on inner reflections. We call it as the skill and will model.
Okay.
So skills are something that you can always learn. There's enough and more material available online today. Correct? You spoke about leadership. So if someone were to listen to your podcast, they will know what servant leadership is all about, and you might get some, tips and tricks to kind of become one. But what about the inner will? Do I have the inner will to make that change? And that's what the programs of Quinnergy, are all based on making one understand why is there a lack of will, and all of this come from very traditional scriptures that we have, some of the stories that we have, especially from the Mahabharata. So some of the programs are based on the Pandava princes in the Mahabharata and the leadership archetypes. That's what we call. These are all the archetypal energies. And what is the archetypal energy that each of us has? And if we understand that, and hence we understand that this is not very good in a particular situation, we can actually move from one archetypal energy to another. So that's how these programs are very different to the traditional, leadership programs, and that's what Quinergy does.
Okay, wonderful to know that. And with that note, my last question on this topic, Neeraja, how do you see learning trends in 2021?
So, first of all, learning is an everyday activity. This is what I have to tell every listener. Don't think that you can do 5 days of learning in a year and it is over, right? It is an everyday activity, and it has to be self-driven. Of course, organizations will do. So if you're working in a company, they will, bring in trainers, they will offer training programs, etc., etc. But it is in your hands to do this everyday learning, to ensure that you keep up with the changing business trends and anticipating what are the future trends, and hence learning. Second, I have to say that resilience, you have to be very, very resilient today. So things are changing, and they're changing very, very rapidly. So you have to be very resilient, and you have to have a growth mindset. If you're going to have a fixed mindset, you cannot really go anywhere. So have a growth mindset.
Right.
Learning is not restricted to doing courses. You can learn from people. You can learn from podcasts like this. So please ensure that you subscribe to a few podcasts. You can learn from social media, because the minute you follow some, people, or you follow certain organizations, if supposing you are in the, media industry, and you want to know what are the changes that are happening in the media industry, then you start following some of the companies in that domain and some of the key people in that domain. You will see that they are writing every day. They'll be posting something every day on social media, and that itself is learning.
Right.
Ensure that you attend as many conferences, as many workshops, as many webinars that you can. And also, bite-sized learning is the key, because today we understand that we have an overload of information, and also that attention span is limited. So a lot of bite-sized learning which is available, and most of us who are in the space of providing learning are trying to make it bite-sized. So there are small 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute nuggets available as videos and podcasts or small blogs and things like that.
Right.
So start tuning into all of this. So gone are the days that I will sign up for a course. That is the last thing that you do.
Okay.
And there is also community learning, and I have to talk about this network that I'm part of. It is called as Shikha. It is a community of coaches and consultants, solopreneurs,
Okay.
all women.
Okay.
Started by Ajwani last year, and the reason she started was when 2020, the pandemic hit. Big businesses also, were hit badly.
Hmm.
So she realized that what about the small businesses, the solopreneurs, especially the women?
Hmm.
How are they coping with this? And she brought about,
Hmm.
this community. And in this community, we meet once every month, of course, online because the members are spread across the country and the globe, and we
Hmm.
have a learning mantra session.
Hmm. Hmm.
One Friday of the third Thursday of every month is dedicated to learning,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it is community learning. So somebody from within She Mantra takes a class. Like for example, I told you I spoke about networking. Like that, each of the coaches, each of the consultants has something that they are really good at, and
Hmm.
they share the learning, and the rest of the community comes together. So
Hmm.
become part of networks, become part of communities, and start learning together. So this is
Hmm.
also very,
Hmm.
very important. Don't be selfish. Give as much as you can in terms of what you know, and then learn from the others.
So, Neeraja, it's not over. We have planned some specific super questions like a rapid round to know about the leaders who come on this podcast, Stars of Learning. So, these are some powerful questions targeted to know about you, which will influence my listeners to engage, enlighten, and empower. And that's the mission of my podcast. So, are you ready?
Sure, thanks, Jyoti. Let me make an attempt at it.
So, according to you, what is the star moment?
I think the moment when you decide that you will pursue something that is meaningful for yourself, not for the rest of the world, and not because the rest of the world is doing so. That is a star moment.
What inspires you to do everything that you do today?
The fact that it makes a difference and a positive impact on the people who I interact with.
Interesting. So, if you owned a company, what's one thing you would do differently in learning?
See, learning is only good when you act on whatever you have learned. So I will ensure that both the organization and the individual tracks the actions that they have taken on a daily basis, so that they actually put the learning into action.
Wow, that's great. So, what are the three most important things you would like to accomplish right now?
Okay, I would like to make inroads into as many organizations as I can to create the impacts through my workshops and sessions. Because 2020 was a great year for me. I made inroads into a variety of networks and conferences, more than 60, talks I was able to give last year. But this year I want to go into companies and do similar sessions. And the second most important thing for me is to work and complete my book that I'm writing.
So, Neerajan, my next question is based on my audience request. So, if I may ask you, what are your strengths?
I think my biggest strength is that I believe in myself, and nothing and nobody can shake the confidence that I have in myself.
Wonderful. What's the best book you have read this year or any time you want to recommend to my listeners?
So yeah, this year I've not really read too much, but I have read two books which I will want to talk about. One is Apurva Purohit's book. Apurva Purohit is the president of the Jagran Group, and she has written two books. This one, Lady, You Are the Boss. That is her second book, extremely powerful book, and I must encourage everyone to read it. And of course, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg is always there.
Cool. So, what are the characteristics of the best boss or a role model or a coach you ever had, and what made that person great for you?
Um, many people, right? Because it's a long career.
Right.
But let me talk about this one person. So I worked in a services company, and I was working in with a client, and actually I had to work within the client organization. So I had really limited, exchange with my own boss from my company. This person that I was actually reporting to in the client organization was like my boss.
Okay.
And I think the amount of transparency, despite the fact that I come from a services company, I was like a contractor,
Hmm.
but he gave me respect that I deserved for the role that I was doing, for the knowledge and the leadership that I was bringing in, for the person that I was, and the amount of transparency. Because this is what I told you, right? Great leaders are the people who are transparent with their people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amount of transparency that he brought in for any and every decision that was taken. He really didn't have to tell me everything.
Hmm.
He because he was a client, he just had to say, do this, Neeraja.
Hmm.
But he ensured that he didn't think of me differently,
Hmm.
and his name is Mehtab, and he's of course now in Australia, but one of the great bosses that I've had.
Are there any tools that you use on a daily basis to be a better you?
Um, I won't call it a tool per se, but I use empathy a lot
Hmm. Okay.
to try and understand why someone is behaving in a particular manner. Try and understand where they come from by not being judgmental.
Hmm.
Because it's very, we are also so automatically we judge. Jyoti is saying
Hmm.
something, I think it is because of that, right? The judge is always working overtime in our head.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I try and limit the judgment and try to be
Right.
empathetic. Maybe there is a reason why this person is like that. Let me try and understand that.
So, Neeraja, are there any habit you're practicing which has made you successful in whatever you do?
So I always talk about my Google Calendar, and I ensure that I put in anything and everything into the Google Calendar, whether it is personal, whether it's professional, because I do so many things today. It's not just
Hmm.
one job, right? So I write and mentor, and I consult with organizations. I freelance. I give talks at various conferences. Like today, we've done this podcast and all of
Hmm.
that. So every small thing, and including personal. So if there is, say, a dentist appointment for my daughter, that will go into my Google Calendar. So it's an integrated calendar so
Yeah.
that I know how I'm using my time and I'm able to utilize it for best productive, way.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
give my best where I want to, and whatever I feel are taking up a lot of my time and not necessarily needed to, I kind of minimize that. So yeah, Google Calendar it is.
Wow. Great. Neeraja, we have come to an end of this interview. Before I ask you that last question, how can people get in touch with you to get more insight, collaborate? Where can they reach out to you?
Sure. So one is of course LinkedIn. I'm
Okay.
available there and I'm very active there. Two is the two portals I spoke about. I'm a mentor on both these portals. One is Jobs for Her. The other is Aspire for Her. Aspire for Her, of course, is for younger girls in the age group of 18 to 25. But they're also going, beyond that age group and, building larger communities. And
Hmm.
Jobs for Her, while it started for women on a career break, it is also a portal now for all women. So you'll find me as a mentor on these two portals and you can reach out to me through that.
Okay. On a closing note, and that last question, your advice to people who are new and want to accelerate their career.
I will only say make things happen and make it happen today. Because there is never a right moment. Most of us think, okay, I will wait for that to happen and then I will start. But there is never a right moment. Now is the right moment. So even
Hmm.
if your movement towards whatever you want to, in your career, even if the progress is very, very small because of the 100 constraints that you're having in your life today, still
Hmm.
make that small progress. Even if it is taking you only 1 millimeter ahead, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Even that one
Hmm.
millimeter, is,
Hmm.
is, is,
Hmm.
is a big, big leap.
Right.
Because the minute
Right.
you put a pause, the minute you put a break, it's very difficult to accelerate. So keep moving. That's what I would say.
Amazing. That's a super cool, great insight, Neeraja. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the links and resources which we have discussed in this episode will be made available in my show notes page of my podcast, Stars of Learning, and also on my website, prajvitaknowledge.com, that is PRAJVITA knowledge.com. I will list out all our conversation for your quick reference. Thank you so much, Neeraja, for being on this show. I really enjoyed all the nuggets on this specific topic, NEERSPIRES, and your wisdom, putting aspiration into action. And I thoroughly enjoyed every conversation, and I've learned loads of them. And if I look at my notes, just to recap a few key points: knock out the guilt, uh, be selfish for yourself, help yourself. Calling out others' responsibility was very powerful one, Neeraja. Approval and appreciation, reflect and retrospect, and T-shaped capability. That will definitely be a differentiator for our growth. And being connected, be acceptable, don't shy, and all those 4 to 5 points which you highlighted there, prioritizing preparation, restart, and gig work space, nurturing the relationship, and leadership is not a boss. uh, we need to follow what we are, and being trustworthy, transparent, and vulnerable. Power of networking, you called out what you give and not what you get. And the last one, now is the right moment. Really loved all the conversation here, Neeraja. I'm sure my listeners will definitely enjoy and get immensely benefit from this.
Thanks, Jyoti, for summarizing it so beautifully. Now I also want to listen to this podcast.
Thank you, Neeraja.
Really appreciate your time, and it's been wonderful having you on my show, Neeraja. So, friends, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Neeraja. And if you have got any learning or motivated hearing to Neeraja, then make sure you do share this podcast with your friends and post it on social media. And do let your friends know about this amazing information, which will help many others to engage, enlighten, and empower. By the way, friends, I'm always grateful to all my lovely listeners who tune in to listen, who subscribes and leaves a review for our podcast on iTunes. If you have not done that yet, that would mean a world to me. So head over iTunes or any app you are listening and take a minute to write a quick review, and it will help our podcast grow. And I really appreciate your support, friends. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into this show. Bye for now. Take good care of yourself. Be safe and do something engaging, enlightening, and empowering. Thank you.